Welcome back to the Intelligent Builder podcast, sponsored by Plutus Agents. Today, I'm joined by Brad Strawbridge, the founder and CEO of Capital City Roofing, a technology-enabled roofing company based out of Georgia and expanding. Brad has spent over a decade as an executive in home services before making the leap to build his own company and quickly scaled Capital City to 8 figures and is now building one of the most vertically integrated business models in all of home services. Brad also describes himself as a business architect, which I love. And once you hear how he thinks and operates, you'll understand exactly why. So, Brad, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Oh, and thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So, you spent decades in home services. It was at Lowe's, I believe, right?
Well, not decades. I'm
I'm
not
sorry,
I'm
a
not that old.
decade. Yeah. Young guy. Yeah, yeah. But that's still a long time, doing someone else's thing, right? What was the moment you kind of realized that you were done doing that and wanted to transition into building your own company?
Well, I never thought I was gonna leave Lowe's. I was there for about 11 years. I started out as a delivery driver, in my 20s, just had a job. I loved it, by the way. The most fun job I had, driving the flatbed around, with the forklift mounted to it, delivering the building materials and, having a good time. And what happened was I had got back from my route one day, and, the first mentor I ever had. He wasn't my mentor at the time, but he became my mentor because he came up to me that day and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I told him, "Sir, I'm working. What are you doing?" And he was the general manager of the Lowe's store. And I had never met him before, because I wasn't really in the store that often. And he said, what I meant was, what are you doing driving a delivery truck? He said, you're smart, you've got leadership ability, people look up to you, this and that. All of this stuff I had no idea, by the way. But the point of it is he saw something, right? And so I came in the store and became a department manager, and then a zone manager, and then an assistant store manager, general manager, and then a district manager over in home services. And that role is what exposed me to home services, right? And so essentially I was in charge of every vertical that Lowe's installed, which is interior and exterior categories. And the thing that happened that kind of made me leave Lowe's was during COVID, I noticed that two of the verticals that I was managing, we weren't just positive, right? We were significantly comping, double digit comps. And one was HVAC and one was roofing. Well, about that time, the same time period that I kind of had this awareness of these two verticals, um, a recruiter reached out to me, and my faith is big to me. I'm a pastor. I'm not currently serving a church, but I believe that I believe in divine direction and that things happen for a reason. And so the recruiter reached out, said, "Hey, we've got a roofing company that's adding director level leadership to their company. Would you be interested in having a conversation?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And so I did. And then, several conversations later, I ended up leaving Lowe's and going to work for a medium sized commercial roofing company here in Atlanta, and help them, design systems, processes, scale those things. And then the light bulb finally went off, and I said, I love this industry, really fell in love with roofing, and I'm gonna go do it myself. And so my wife and I prayed about it. She's my business partner. We've always worked together. We met at Lowe's. We had a Lowe's wedding. Anyway, um, we prayed about it, and we took that leap of faith. And I wish I would have done it ten years earlier, quite frankly. But, time happens the way it's supposed to, because I'll tell you another thing about Lowe's specifically and how grateful I am for that opportunity that I had. I learned so much working in that organization that you just don't learn with a college degree or a master's degree or any of these things. And it taught me to be resilient. It taught me to be resourceful. It taught me very, very high level business acumen and how to manage very large P&Ls and deliver results. And a segue to what we want to talk about ultimately is taught me about systems and processes and why they are so critical.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. You were able to learn so much about that systems first approach and how it should really look for, being an employer and executive in a company like that. And then, once you founded Capital City and went from being an executive with a team under you to being the guy that's everyone's coming to, right? What was that transition like? I mean, was there anything you kind of struggled with at the beginning?
It was a rude awakening, I'll tell you that. I remember the first roof inspection that I had to do, and I always had people, I just delegated and had people. Well, now I was the people. And I'm afraid of heights, to be honest with you. And so I remember getting to the top of the ladder on a 3-story home. Well, it was a 2-story home with a basement. So essentially 3 stories. And I got to, my knees are shaking, right? I'm sweating, I'm scared, right? So I get to the top of the ladder and I remember thinking to myself, if I fell, I was by myself, by the way, too, which hindsight being 2020, not recommended. If you're going to get do something like that on a very, very tall, structure, have a helper, please, or something. But anyway, so I get to the top. I remember thinking to myself, if I fell from that height, good chances I'm not going to make it, right? But I also thought to myself, if I did not do this and I did not master this fear, my business wasn't going to succeed. And that was enough for me to step on that roof and figure it out and learn how to do things. But what it also motivated me to do was to make sure that I was very intentional and disciplined about building this out and being able to train somebody and employees and team members and staff because I needed people to delegate to. Because climbing that roof is not my unique skill, right? It's just not. My unique skill is architecting and attracting the people to do their unique skill, which there's a lot of people that are really great at climbing roofs. And so that was that aha moment for me.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of founders that don't even take that step. I mean, especially the ones that are afraid of heights to really get in there and go on build a roof with one of their crews. I mean, you were hands on from day one, and I know you mentioned in our last call too that you talked about slowing down to speed up. So in the beginning, you were really focused on just generating revenue, which I feel like is where a lot of people are at the beginning of growing a business, and it can cost you. It can be pretty painful building like that. So, was there anything that broke, maybe systematically or just a process that kind of you struggled with in that first year?
So as a contractor, it's too complicated right now with the technology and there's the there's too many segmented and siloed pieces of software that you need to use to do one job, right? Which is sell a roof, deliver on the service that you promise that customer, collect the check, and move on to the next customer, right? I oversimplified it, but that is essentially all we're doing. And there's currently 5 or more different pieces of software that most contractors have to use to get this done. Well, the fact of the matter is most contractors, I mean, a lot of them are still running out of ledger books and, you know, maybe spreadsheets or I don't know. And so to get guys or girls or whoever, contractors, to use that many pieces of software, it's almost impossible. It was hard for me to navigate and I'm was used to technology, right? And so that was the thing that was broken was the technology piece, which drove us to create our own. And we've done that, which has helped out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of speaking on that too, I mean, I'm not diving directly into the custom systems you built, but the last time in our conversation, you mentioned having, 20 AI agents running, doing stuff for you in the background, and they're all built on SOPs, which again goes back to that systems first approach.
Mhm.
So how did you get from I need to slow down to speed up, learning that to then having such that high level of operational infrastructure?
Yeah, so it's all about relationships because like I'm not dumb, but I'm not the smartest person in the world, and if it ever got to the point where I was the smartest person in my sphere of influence, then I'm gonna start looking for a different sphere of influence to be in because I don't wanna be the smartest person in the room. I wanna be maybe the most I'm not even gonna say personable because I think other people have better personalities than me, but I know that it's important to have these relationships because I learned from people like Dennis Yu, who is an expert at SEO. I learned firsthand from him how to do a lot of this stuff on a friend basis, right? I learned how to do, high level executive things from a lot of those relationships that I nurtured in my career with Lowe's. And that's what's important, right? Because I might not know it, but I probably know somebody who does know it. Then I can reach out to that person and I can get a pretty high level overview of where I need to look to learn. And then I have the discipline to go apply myself and learn it, right? And that's what we've done with the technology piece. That's what we've done with the AI agents. I have 64 agents now. So we just spoke not that long ago when it was, you know, a lot smaller of a number. So, and we're moving at the speed of the industry, right? So you've got to keep up with that. You've got to keep your finger on the pulse, or at least for me, it's changing daily right now. It's so fast. The velocity of growth is so fast that if you don't stay plugged in and get intentional about where it's heading, it's gonna leave you behind. It's not a matter of if or when or it's now. It's gonna leave you behind now.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for reference on the 20 versus 64 agents, we spoke 2 weeks ago. So
There you go.
that's an incredible, almost over tripling the amount of AI agents you have running for you. But in terms of the structure that you have, right? You're very big on EOS. You're very strict on that. And I want to maintain this kind of why everything is so systematized into you have this licensing model coming out. But so very strict on EOS. For someone that's heard of EOS but hasn't necessarily implemented it, what does that actually change day to day if you're, super strict on EOS?
So it takes something that's so complex, like running a business, and it simplifies it as much as possible. And it makes things organized. It keeps the important things, and it tracks it week over week. And I mean, it's based off of the book titled Traction, right? So it's created for you to gain traction in your business, right? If you don't, then you're just spinning your wheels, right? And the prime example of that is meetings, right? How many times do people have meetings and they sit around, they talk and talk and talk, they go off on tangents, they just complain maybe, whatever it is, but it's not productive. It's just it's not. Maybe it's like a therapy session. I don't know, but a lot of times they're just unproductive. With EOS, if you are strict about it, and we run we run the model to the T. So I'm a visionary. My COO is the integrator, and him and he's the mediator, right? Because I can get off on a tangent and I can start talking about things that might not be trackable or productive or things like that, but he brings everybody back in line. And nobody has egos, right? Because once you buy into the system, you understand that, hey, if you get corrected or your idea gets, tabled or whatever the case may be, it's not personal. It's for the needs of the business and of the vision that as a group the leadership team comes up with, right? And so when everybody knows that we're heading in this direction together, whenever you get critical feedback or correction or accountability, it's not the end of the world. It's oh, you're right. Let's get back on course here and do the thing and then track it, right? Are we doing the things we said we were going to do, right? It's like, hey, you've got a to do. You've had a to do now, that same one for 3 weeks. What's going on here, right? And it's about holding each other accountable. It's powerful. It really is.
Yeah, no, it really does seem like it. I've spoken to a lot of contractors that run on EOS pretty strictly, and it seems to be working incredibly. And that it's kind of at the core of what you're building too. Other thing you mentioned is you can only be truly scalable if you have a process that someone can pick up and actually use and execute without you in the mix of that. So, how close would you say is Capital City to that, having everything in place to where you don't have to necessarily be at the center of things?
I could now, because I can tell you, I've been traveling every week for the past almost 2 months now. I just got back from the White House, we're not the White House, Capitol Hill for the NRCA's roofing day. I leave this Wednesday to go to Florida for BuilderLink for a company meeting for BuilderLink, which is our software, a CRM that we're doing. And the business is running, you know. I'm still engaged. I still am in the Google chat channels. I'm still, doing the things that I do, right? But the team's running, you know? Now, I'm really lucky and have a really, really great team, but I mean, they don't necessarily need me in the day to day, which is great. And it allows me to think about scalability, right? And looking for people that we can partner with and bring onto the licensing platform. Otherwise, I would just be trying to figure out how to put roofs on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That does bring us right into the licensing model too, because it seems like it was almost inevitable for you to really move into a model like this because you've built something inside of Capital City that works, right? And you can now have other operators almost running on top of that. So what does this licensing model look like? I believe you gave the analogy of McDonald's, right? So if you wanted to have a burger business, you go to McDonald's and that you get the brand equity, right? You open the doors and you have customers. But this is a little bit different because that's not a thing in the roofing industry. So what's this tiered licensing approach you have?
Yeah, so it's a lot like, well, it's not even a lot like. It's kinda like franchising, but it's not franchising. It's much more than franchising. So, first of all, here's the areas where it's similar to franchising. There's a buy-in, but it's not a real buy-in. It's a charitable contribution to our nonprofit, Feeding the Future project. So, that buy-in, which is only $15,000 opposed to 50 to 100, 100,000 with some of these other home services franchises. That $15,000 is a donation to our nonprofit, right? Because that's the point of all of this, right? It's how can we be better partners in the communities that we serve, right? That's the goal. That's the only goal. The money will come. I believe wholeheartedly that if we fulfill that mission, the money will come. And so that $15,000 goes to help fuel the nonprofit. And it's a charitable contribution. So, it it's a write-off, to a certain degree within their organization. And then the other area is the royalty. So there's a 5% royalty, which is very reasonable considering I think maybe the average in the franchising space is maybe 10%, right? So it's about half. And then obviously, access to use the logo and marketing collateral and all of that stuff, which is the least valuable. Now, here's where we're different. So we have a tiered shared services structure depending on your stage of development and business growth that you can subscribe to, right? It's a monthly charge, similar like if you were hiring an agency or a third party company to do anything. So the first tier is $2,500 a month, and it's access to the entire tech stack, right? So you won't have any additional subscription charges to any other tech stack. And the tech stack is BuilderLink. It's 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 our sister company, which is also available to contractors who are not Capital City Roofing, by the way. And it's a builder, and it's spelled not like it not like it sounds. BuilderLink is LYNC, right? Builderlink.com. And it's an operating system for home services. So they get that. Now, obviously, the Capital City Roofing one's a little more custom because it's, designed to us already. But all the SOPs, the core processes, the AI agents, everything that they need to run very lean out of the gate. And if you were to hire third party companies to do that, it'd be well it'd be over that. It'd be way over that because we take care of the Google Business Profile, we take care of the SEO on the website, we take care of all the organic social media posting. It's the value is insane for what we can offer. And then as they grow and they need additional resources, have a tier two is $8,000 a month, but it also includes everything on the front end, right? So think about recruiting the employees that they need to answer their phones and schedule their appointments and perform CRM hygiene, right? So make sure they're putting notes in and the stages of the job are correct and everything on the front end of the business. And then as they grow after that, there's a $12,000 a month package that we also do the back end. And by the way, all these other services are sister companies of ours. So that's where you had mentioned the vertically integrated ecosystem. That's what this is, right? So we have a staffing agency, an accounting firm, and a marketing agency. And we still help the public a little bit, very few word of mouth kind of referral customers at this point, because we've started pulling in all of those resources just to support the licensees. And so the back end will do your books, we'll do your accounting, we'll do your compliance, we will file your warranties, everything on the back end, right? So our slogan is we'll run the company, you sell the roofs. It's as simple as that. And I'll tell you, we just went live in Charleston, South Carolina with a good friend of mine. He's actually one of my business partners with BuilderLink. His name's Blake Grissom. He is a double golden door winner in home services, and the people in home services will know exactly what I'm talking about. He knocked doors, right? Door-to-door sales, $7 million in a year. 7 million. 7 million in a year. He did that when he was working for a different company. And immediately after that, he was like, "Oh, I should go start a company," which is a natural thought to have, right? But then when you get into it, then you realize, well, now I don't have the time to go sell $7 million because I got to do all this other, business stuff, right? The stuff people don't think of. You just don't think about everything that's involved in it until you get in it. Well, now we've been able to liberate him to go do what he does best, which is business development and selling and training other sales guys and project managing. And the sky's the limit with this guy because he's just a natural at what he does. And here's another difference from franchising, because we don't make everybody just say they're Capital City Roofing. You can if you want, and we love it if you do, but he's Revive Roofing and Exteriors powered by Capital City Roofing, right? And so, yeah, so in a nutshell, that's it. It has home services, it has shared services, it has a philanthropic component to it. As far as a business model perspective, it's pretty unique and it's pretty special. And it's going to be very successful because me and my entire team, we're extremely passionate about it. It it's not just a business venture for us. It excites us every single day.
It really is an incredible offer, and it's great that you can really provide capacity to these business owners without them having to do all this work and hiring as well, because you said you have the staffing agency as well and the marketing and everything in-house, which is incredible because with the example you used with the sales guy, I interviewed a fencing company, the other week. I guess I'll be posting him in about 2 weeks, but they have a sales guy. He was, like, 3rd out of 1,800 salespeople, and now they need to try to replicate him because the business is growing too fast. But with a system like this, that guy can continue to be sales and do all of that without having to worry about the back end. So that's really incredible, and you already have a few kinda deals in the pipeline as well, like you mentioned, your friend, the business owner, and you haven't really spent a dollar on marketing yet. So how are these deals finding you? How is that working? And then at the same time, do you intend to start to market this pretty heavily soon?
Yeah, so it has just been organic, word of mouth. Again, I'll always believe that the best form of marketing is it's not even marketing, it's just building relationships. And so I try to include myself in rooms where these types of conversations are happening. I try to pay attention to the industry and what people seem to be moving the industry and have the courage and the confidence to just reach out and be direct and say, hey, you know, Mr. Whoever you are, influencer guy, I see what you're doing. I think it's great. I'd like to chat with you. Right. And you meet people, right? No, never be afraid to speak up, never be afraid to reach out. The fact of the matter is everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. And so don't ever be afraid to reach out to somebody just because you might perceive them as important or things like that, right? So that's number one. Yeah, I mean, I've got a go to market strategy simmering on the back burner right now. And I think the time will be soon and we'll launch it, and start, putting some marketing spin behind it. But the good thing is too, my marketing costs will always be relatively affordable because the only variable that is going to increase that price is the ad spend or, for whatever platform that I want to run paid ads on, or if I want to do PPC or things like that, because the organic stuff and like design all that, like we do it in house, so that keeps that cost low.
Yeah, that's great. The thing you mentioned about just not being afraid to reach out to people, that reminds me of a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. Have you read that book?
I haven't.
It's a great book. It's sitting right over there. I'm not entirely sure who wrote it, but that's kind of the one of the premises is we're all people. Just go talk to the person. I mean, a lot of people make jokes about the worst they can say is no when something crazy happens, but I mean,
That's
just go
true.
talk to them and you never know what's
Yeah,
gonna happen.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. So the worst thing someone can do is say, "I don't wanna talk to you." That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, then you just move on. And
Yeah.
then too, with strategy, since we started talking about that, another thing is you already have an exit strategy, or I guess most of an exit strategy plan in place too, alongside this licensing model, which that level of thinking doesn't happen, I guess, so early on in the operator journey. So how early did you have that piece mapped out? One, and then why do you think it matters to bring that up now?
Yeah, so realistically, it could happen as soon as, and this time period is from the day of go to market, right? But I don't include anything we've done pre that to this timeline. But it could be as soon as 3 years, but it'll be most likely 5. And what we're doing is we're providing people an opportunity that they most likely wouldn't have on their own. Right, and it's because the way that we've designed this is it's already gonna be structured very similar to how a private equity roll up is structured, right? And so I know it's going to be attractive, and then they'll have the opportunity to sell at the valuation of their location, and again, it's theirs. Like, yeah, there's the 5% royalty off of that, right? But they're gonna have the opportunity to exit for a significant sum of money that if they were doing it on their own, maybe they could get there, but probably not at the multiplier that they would get being a part of our organization. Because when you think about the business model, like I said, it has several verticals in it that are already attractive to private equity as standalone companies, but we're packaging it all together and putting a bow on it. So it will have a better multiplier than your normal roofing roll up.
Yeah, not even to mention that private equity loves home services right now too. So it's amazing what that'll be. And then to zoom out, I know you just mentioned, it could be 3 to 5 years from launch, but with Capital City Roofing now, right? You've got a custom CRM launching too in the summer, which is awesome. But where do you plan on taking, I guess, your core business of Capital City Roofing in the next year or two? Since you've had such incredible growth in the last, 2 years, how about this next year?
Yeah, so we're residential heavy right now, and we've done a great job in the residential market. We've really defined what our kind of key unique identifiers are, which is great customer service, it's great communication, and we're also certified at the highest level with our manufacturers. So we're Master Elite with GAF, which is like the pinnacle of residential roofing, right? And then we're also Shingle Master Premier with Certainteed, which is the other pinnacle of residential roofing. So we we've we I'm not gonna say we've made it or whatever, but as far as that division of the company's business model, it's designed. It doesn't get any better than being Master Elite and Shingle Master Premier. It doesn't get any better. So now what I'm focusing on is multifamily and low slope commercial, designing and building out those divisions of the company because there'll be three separate divisions. There'll be a residential division, a multifamily commercial division, which is different than a low slope commercial division. They are very different, and all three of them are uniquely different than the next. It's almost like three completely different businesses, to be quite honest. And so that's where I'm spending my time right now is designing those and pressure testing them and making sure they're working well. And then I'm spending a lot of my time in giving back to the roofing industry at large. So I'm really passionate about, and this will be even when I exit the business, I will still be involved in the roofing industry for the rest of my life because it's what I'm passionate about. So the NRCA, matter of fact, just yesterday, I got information that I've been appointed to two different committees in the NRCA. One is the Residential Roofing Committee, and then the other one is the Workforce Development Committee. And the workforce development piece is a critical issue in the United States right now, right? Because if you think about, we have an aging workforce, right? Especially, and I'm talking about the trades specifically, and then obviously roofing, an aging workforce with not enough, quite frankly, people your age and younger that are even interested in this industry. So it's all about driving awareness. It's about changing policy. It's about making it easier and getting resources behind it and making it important to start building that pipeline of talent. And then we're also members of the Roofing Alliance. So that's a nonprofit foundation of the NRCA with a very similar mission. It's about furthering the industry and getting involved in universities, getting involved in trade schools. That hence the reason why we're building Capital City University so people can come and get an education on roofing and exterior construction. And then when they graduate, they can get a job here if they want. Right. So obviously it's a win win either way. But those are the things that I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's incredible. On the last piece too, I think the average I had Doug Winston on the podcast. He's the founder of Trade Mentor, and he was telling me how the average tradesman, I believe, is almost up to the age of 50, which is crazy. There definitely needs to be a lot more of the younger people getting into the trades. I know there's a big push for that now, but a lot of exciting stuff coming, it sounds like, for Capital City Roofing. I want to ask one more question though, just for the contractors that have been listening up until now, and maybe they recognize themselves as an early version of you in that first year, really pushing towards revenue generation over anything else. It's not scalable to do that, and obviously, right, you've seen that. So, what would be your advice for them to change tomorrow if they are still the business, they're doing everything?
Yeah. So you have to slow down to speed up. I say it all the time. I think the Navy SEALs have a slogan very similar to that about you do things quickly by doing them slowly or something to that regard, and it's true. And it's counterintuitive to what your natural response is, right? Because the natural response as a small business owner is, "Oh my gosh, I've just got to go make money, and I'll figure out the rest," right? And there's that fear associated with if you did slow down to actually do the things that are necessary, which is how do I do this? Is the way I do this effective? And then writing out that effective way of doing it and then testing that and making sure that it's repeatable and making sure that you could hand somebody a document and say, residential roof inspection, here you go. Now go. Right. And then they should be able to take that document with very little additional instruction and go do that function. Right. You've got to do that. For me, the best advice I would say is you're gonna fear missing out on a sale. You're gonna fear whatever, and it doesn't feel right. but it's the right thing to do, and you need to do it. You need to get over the fear, and you need to sit down. And I know it's tedious, it's boring, it doesn't seem like it's significant at first, but it's the most significant thing that you can do as a business owner.
Amazing. Brad, this has been awesome. I appreciate you being so open about everything. The way you build businesses, the system first mindset, the vertical integration, everything really is really cool. And especially the licensing model. I'm really looking forward to seeing you roll that out and see what happens with it. But it's genuinely a different frame that I hear from a lot of contractors, which is nice to hear. But before we close out, where should people connect with you or maybe learn more about the licensing model? Is there a place you're most active on?
I try to stay pretty active everywhere. So I'm on every social platform that's out there. capitalcityroofing.net/licensing. You can learn about the licensing model there. You can also check out BuilderLink at builderlink.com there. Because the thing I would tell people too is we have something to help anyone, right? Whether you have a great brand, you have a great company, you don't need any help in that regard, but you want a software that's going to help you be more efficient. We've got you there with BuilderLink. And then if you need help and you want to be a part of a movement and you want to help your community and you want to be Capital City Roofing, we can do that too. And I'm also happy to chat and give advice and add value where I can if I'm able, and if I'm not able, I can always recommend somebody that probably can. So don't hesitate to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to help.
Incredible. Thank you. I will link some information below so people can find you pretty easily. But for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in to the Intelligent Builder. If you found this episode valuable, make sure to share it with another operator or contractor in your circle. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. I appreciate it.